everyone, it's Doctor in the house and you're welcome. My name is Chris Carter and I'm so excited to be here with you today. If you're just joining us for the first time and wondering what this show is all about, this is the show I call the consultation before the main consultation, because we get a doctor in the house and we get to talk about different conditions, know about them and how to go about them, either by managing them or eradicating them completely. But anyway, today, I'm sure you're wondering who's the doctor in the house. It's a continuation of what we started yesterday. Last week actually. Last week, we're talking about HPV and cervical cancer. So yes, it's part 2 of it, and we still have Dr. Wisdom Effiong from the Bank Hospital. Hi, Doc.
Hi, Chris.
How are you?
I'm blessed. Good morning.
How's everything?
Very well, by grace.
I've been watching you on Snapchat and I saw that you enjoyed yourself. And I was like, oh, Doc is enjoying himself. He actually does enjoy himself. But it's nice to have you here.
Thank you.
And it's nice for us to continue the conversation we started last week.
Yeah.
So today we are going to be busting some myths and also checking out some facts, because you are going to give us the facts. I'm going to give the myths, and then and then you will have to bust it by giving us what it is really when it comes to HPV and cervical cancer. But before we get into that, last week we had some messages that we didn't finish.
Okay.
So let's just go through some of those messages. I think it's about 2. Hi, good morning, Doc. Please, I want to find out whether I can go for the HPV vaccine after testing negative for my pap smear last month at the age of 39.
Oh, yes, absolutely. You can go for the vaccine, but like you said, currently in Ghana, it's been rolled out for ages 9 to 14.
Right.
And for that age group, it is free. For someone who's 39 years, you'd have to pay for it. Yeah. Right, but absolutely, actually that's the teaching. You get tested, you are negative, you go get vaccinated to prevent, further infection. So yes, absolutely yes, the person should get tested.
Great. And good morning, Chris and ChannelOne TV. I'm Nsudo Eric, watching you live from Damongo. The doctor is really educating us, and may God bless him and his family.
Amen.
My question is, can pregnant women take the vaccine?
Right. So when it comes to pregnant women, we want to be very careful with that, because usually if you look at the mechanism of action of a vaccine, it utilizes your immune system. Now, pregnancy has a de novo, sort of like dampens your immune system in a way. Pregnant women are not sick people, but the pregnancy dampens the immune system. So we want to be very careful with that, especially when it comes to the trimesters. Now it depends. Are you in the first trimester? Are you in the second trimester? Are you in the third trimester? Now the next thing we look out for is how bad is it? Do you have the infection? Or are you negative already? If you are negative already, why not wait till after birth? Then whilst your immune system is fully back on, then you take it. Right. If you found to have the lesions, then we'll be talking about treatment here and not vaccination. So technically, if you're pregnant, we wouldn't advise you to go get vaccinated, because pregnancy only lasts for about 40 weeks, right? So after that, especially if you are tested negative prior to that, why not? You have to wait till after the pregnancy.
All right, so talking about lesions, are these lesions precancerous?
Yes. So
what do you mean by precancerous? Because I read a lot.
Yes.
So what is the precancerous?
Yes. So I think I highlighted that last week, that cervical cancer is one of the few cancers that lingers around for years, for about 10 years, before it becomes a full-blown cancer.
Okay.
Now for this period of 10 years, you have HPV virus causing changes in your cervix, in your cervix. Now these various changes are what we probably refer to as pre-malignant lesions. So you would see something like, a wound in the cervix of the cervix, very small. So it's pre-cancer. It is not cancer, yet. It is before cancer. Right. So now if you ignore that, now over the period of 5-10 years and going, then it fully develops, into cancer. Now there are technical things that we call them. So you hear things like CIN1, CIN2, CIN3, and all that, right? So those are pre-cancerous lesions. And in these stages, some people may not even have symptoms at all, and they might feel like, oh, they are fine. And some people may also have symptoms, and I mentioned the last time, bleeding on sexual intercourse, bleeding after sexual
Pain.
intercourse, bleeding in between your menses,
Your period.
or postmenopausal bleeding. You know, so these are things that you would experience when you have
Doing
the
the pre.
precancerous.
And that's why they said the cervical cancer is one of the cancers that can actually be avoided.
Exactly, absolutely, almost 100%
So
preventable.
it's just about screening every time. So if
Exactly.
anything is found, it can be worked on quickly before it blows into a cancer.
Exactly. And this is a period of like 10 years.
And
So
that's like 10
and
years.
You just don't want to ignore that, really. Ignore that.
Wow. All right. So, okay, let's get straight into our, topic for today. And that's you busting the myths when it comes to HPV and cervical cancer. So I have some myths here, and you're going to help us go through them. So the first one here is, only promiscuous women get cervical cancer.
Wow. So that's one. I would say yes and no. Right. Now, yes, in the fact that obviously if you are promiscuous, you are at a higher risk of being exposed to so many people who probably would have HPV infection. And no to the fact that it only takes one sexual encounter to get HPV infection. So you might not be promiscuous, but you've only had one sexual encounter with someone who is positive of HPV infection, you would get it, even if that is the only sexual encounter you have in your entire life.
Right.
So that is a myth, because it's not only promiscuous people or women who tend to get HPV infection.
So basically, you can be faithful.
Yes.
But your unfaithful partner
exactly
can't be carrying the thing.
Exactly.
And now transfer.
Exactly. Like
and
you said
dump.
the last time, be faithful to a faithful partner. So
Father
you will
Lord.
be faithful, but your partner is not faithful, and then that makes you a secondary promiscuous partner.
And I think that's why it's important to screen, because like HPV does not show on the head.
Exactly.
It does not show on the like in the penis or anything.
Exactly. Right.
If I don't have the symptoms, I don't need screening.
Wow, that's a huge myth, right? I think we just said that it stays asymptomatic for a long period of time. So if you're not having symptoms, that is when you should get screened, right? That's when you should get screened and get vaccinated if you are negative.
Right.
Right. So if you're not having symptoms, you might be in the early stages of, the cancer.
Yeah.
And then why
You never
wait
know.
till you develop it? Prevention is always better than cure.
Yeah.
Why wait till you develop it rather than, something you could have done earlier? So if you're not having symptoms, then please get screened and let us be sure. We practice evidence-based medicine.
Right.
Let the evidence show that this is it, and then, you can go ahead with that.
Cervical cancer is hereditary?
It is not. Now, so it is one of the few cancers that is not hereditary. I mentioned last week that we know the cause. Unlike breast cancer that, would have your first degree relative being, having the cancer, your mother, your sister, your daughter, you want to quickly get checked because, the BRCA gene is in the system. But, when it comes to cervical cancer, the primary cause is high-risk infection from persistent HPV. Right, and we're looking at the strains 16 and 18, amongst others.
16 and 18,
yeah,
mostly.
amongst others, yeah.
All right. Cervical cancer cannot be prevented.
It can be prevented. Okay. That is why we are here.
Okay. So now, HPV infection. So if I go to the hospital and I do my screening and they say I have HPV infection, does that mean I have a cancer?
No, doesn't mean you have a cancer. It means that you have, and let me just point out that some people, now that's why we mentioned that it is persistent infection from HPV. Now, some people can have HPV infection and your immune system would deal with it and it would clear off.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Some people can have it and then in a year or two, their immune system will deal with it. It would clear off. So you might not even develop the pre-cancerous lesion at all. Do you understand?
But the reinfection.
Exactly, the persistent infection, especially if you're still engaging in sexual activity.
With the person
so you
that
get
has
it,
it,
your body deals with it, you get it again, your body deals with it. And especially if you have the higher strains, the high risk strains, 16, 18. And also if you have comorbid conditions.
What's that?
Let's take, for instance, you've got HIV.
Right,
Now,
right.
HIV is known to dampen your immune system.
Right.
And now you have a persistent high-risk HPV.
So, Doc,
with no time,
yeah,
that would quickly progress because now you have no immune system to even deal with it.
Fight it.
And guess what? These are also sexually transmitted. So nobody has a sexual encounter and say, okay, I'm just picking HPV.
Right.
You pick everything the person has got. You pick HPV, you pick HIV, you pick gonorrhea, you pick syphilis.
Everything.
You're picking everything. And these things come together.
So your body becomes a picker.
So
I know this is serious, but since the body's picking everything, let's have some humor here. It's getting too serious.
So you see, so persistent HPV infection, right? So those who have got HIV, some people can even be on treatment, for HIV, and now you've got HPV, and especially if your CD4 cell counts are low.
So it's like your body doesn't know what to fight. Am I fighting
Exactly.
HPV? Am I fighting HIV? Am I fighting syphilis? Am I fighting gonorrhea?
Is even killing the police cells that are supposed to fight your HPV. So if you're supposed to have 100 police cells, now you have just 20.
So you called it morbid?
Comorbid.
Comorbid.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm not a doctor, but I'm very curious about this and comorbid conditions. That's HIV. So what about conditions like what to call it? There's a lifestyle diseases.
Okay.
Like diabetes, like high blood pressure.
Yeah.
Does that affect your immune system too?
Yeah, so it has to be conditions that has the potential to affect your immune system.
So what conditions are we looking at?
So like I've mentioned a few.
HIV.
Other sexually transmitted infections. And the notable one is HIV because the main mechanism of action for the human immunovirus is to destroy the immune cells.
Right.
Others can, just dampen it. Like pregnancy. Pregnancy would dampen your immune system. It wouldn't necessarily destroy your immune system. I think there are two things here.
Yeah.
Some conditions would just dampen it and then after time, resurface. Some upper respiratory tract infection would happen because your immune system has been dampened.
Right.
And then when it comes back up, it fights it.
Okay.
Right. So when hypertension is not a condition that would dampen your immune system, right?
What about diabetes?
Diabetes would dampen your immune system to some degree, especially depending on how badly controlled it is, And sometimes you notice that some people tend to have sores that are not healing, and because the blood vessel are affected, so you have non-healing sores and all that. So yes, basically, but let's think HIV, because again, you don't go picking HPV, you pick everything alongside HPV.
True. Now, this is the big one. This is the big one for me and one of the most important ones.
All right.
HPV vaccinations are only for women.
No, not only for women.
Now, expatiate on that.
Right. So the target here are women because women have got a cervix and men don't have cervix, right? So because women have got cervixes, now a cervix, I beg your pardon, it's just one, not two. Before someone starts thinking, where's my second cervix? Right? So that is a primary target. Now, guess what? Where would women get HPV from? I mean, of course, now we're in the 21st century, so some people, engage in sexual activities with the same sex.
Yeah.
Now, those who engage in sexual activity the right way it's supposed to be would mean that you'd engage in sexual activity with a man.
With a man, yeah.
And a man can also have HPV infection.
Right.
So men can equally get vaccinated.
Right.
And that prevents the spread of the infection. And
Very important.
mind you, HPV is not only implicated in cervical cancer.
Yes, I read about it.
Yeah. Now, the low-risk ones can also cause ulcers, genital ulcers.
And warts.
Warts, exactly, So the high-risk ones are what can cause the throat cancer and all that.
I had somebody that had warts one time, and I didn't look at the person the same way. Genital warts. I'm like,
why?
You have warts? What are you doing? I know I'm not supposed to be laughing, but
it
just changed my whole perception about this whole thing, and then it made me very, very alert to realize that you can actually, the HPV infection can actually cause genital warts.
Yeah.
And if you go on the internet and see what genital warts are,
they're not fun at all.
They're not nice to look at. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
This is what you have around your genitalia?
Yeah. So that's why you should come to the hospital and get screened, get tested, and get treated. Some people think that if it's not affecting them, there's really no point, you know, to go get it tested.
So I also read that, you know, with the HPV infection, people can get throat cancer.
Yes.
So like
it's
if
possible.
the
It's possible.
if
High
the
risk.
penile area has the HPV and you do a lot of, you know,
Oral sex.
oral sex.
Exactly. Yeah. It's also implicated because you get this.
So what about penile cancer?
This is because
Penile cancer is a thing too, right?
yeah, it's a thing. But you see, the whole mechanism here is the virus adhering to a mucous membrane, a thin mucous membrane that could
Doc,
easily.
speak
So
English.
how do I say
Not
this?
medical English.
Now,
No,
the inner
English.
part of the epithelium or the covering.
You haven't made it like making it worse.
The things that, see this chair we seated
Yeah.
on right now, the covering is red.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't mean the foam beneath is red.
Right, I get it.
Do you
I get
understand?
it, yeah.
Now we are talking about this covering that I'm seated on. Now some people can produce a chair covering that is as thick as this.
Right.
Perhaps this is as thin as
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Now surfaces like inside of the mouth, inside of the vagina, and not in the throat, they have surfaces that are as thin as this, which could promote more absorption of this virus into the bloodstream. Now, if in places where they have thick covering, i.e. the palm, you know, the palm has got 10 layers, you know, before you can actually go deep down in it. So if you've got thick, it will be difficult for the virus to actually go through. So that's the whole mechanism behind it. Right. So it's like saying that, can you contract HPV from your palm?
Yeah.
Not
No, not
necessarily.
really, because it cannot.
Exactly. So that's the thing. That's why it's sexually transmitted, because the vagina has got a thin epithelium or a covering, if you like.
Now, another one, which when it comes to vaccines, people just create a lot of myths and have so many ideas. And you know, we even got a message from that last week where someone said, "Oh no, this is the Europeans trying to put their thing on us." You know, we had a message like that last week that that was a bit confusing, and also brought the thought of so many people, especially when they said that the government has rolled out the HPV vaccine to kids. So now, people are saying that this will cause infertility. Is it true?
It's not true. It's not true. These vaccines have been tested and proven, and rather it prevents infertility. Now, guess what? When you have, you know, like I mentioned, when you have sexual encounter, you don't go picking the viruses that you want, you know. Now, some of these infections... Your
body doesn't choose.
Exactly. Some of these bacterial infection, gonorrhea and all that. Now, when they are within you and then they ascend the reproductive tract, they ascend, you know, to your tubes.
They climb.
You know,
ascending is climbing, right?
Exactly. When they ascend, you know, to your tubes, they could actually cause tubal blockade, which would affect fertility. Some people call PID, pelvic inflammatory disease. Now, if you have PID, you're at risk of having, you know, that tube being blocked. And that's because you fail to treat, you know, a mere bacterial infection, which has now progressed
to something else,
you know, a pelvic inflammatory disease and has now caused infertility.
So it's not the vaccine.
It does not. The vaccine does not, you know, cause infertility at all.
Right. Another one. This one goes to everyone that is vaccinated.
Okay.
So once I'm vaccinated, I do not need to screen again.
No, you still have to screen. So I think we mentioned that. So currently in Ghana, we use the Gardasil.
Yeah.
Now, the Gardasil is what we call a quadrivalent vaccine.
Yeah.
Protect about
Gardasil
4 strains. Now, we have the 16 and 18 notorious strains, high risk. Then we have the 6 and 11 low risk. Those are the ones that cause the genital warts and all that.
Right.
Now, the Gardasil protect against these 4, 6, 11, 16, and 18, quadrivalent. And I mentioned last week that there are over 80 strains of cervical cancer.
When I read about it, I was like, what are all these numbers now? Jesus, why? Why do we have to go through this?
So even those those are discovered and those are yet to be discovered, you know, like the COVID-19, something that wasn't discovered earlier.
Did you just say that are yet to be discovered?
Yeah, there are still things that are yet to be discovered.
So maybe we'll wake up one day, they'll say, oh, there's a new strain of HPV.
In 2015, do did you know about the SARS-CoV?
Yes. No, yeah, we didn't.
Exactly.
We didn't know, yeah.
In COVID-19,
it
it
came
in
out.
19. So exactly. So the Gardasil, it protects about 4 strains. Now, there are so many other strains that have not been protected, which means, to answer the question, if you are vaccinated, you should continue, your regular screening program like we outlined the last time. Every 3 years, if you are, prior to 30 years old, and if you're doing a single testing, which is a pap smear.
Right.
And then if you choose to do a double testing, pap smear, HPV, or VIA, you want to do every 5 years after 30, provided the previous is negative.
All right. So, Doc, I just saw something right now, and I'm just going to read through it. So there are over 200 types of HPV, which are grouped into lower risk types that can cause warts and high risk types that can lead to cancer. High risk types like HPV 16 and 18 are the most common causes of cancer, such as cervical, anal, this is the oral vaginal, pronounce it, oral vaginal something cancer. While low risk types like HPV 6 and 11 primarily cause genital warts. Wow, so there are about 200
types discovered and yet to be discovered, right?
Oh, okay. So other types.
I'm sure you were thinking, how does it cause anal?
So under
cancer?
the low risk types, anal cancer, Doc. That's wild.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
So other types like HPV 2, HPV 7, and HPV 22 are associated with common and flat warts.
Yeah.
Doc, you work in a hospital.
I wish you could get images of that, but
yeah,
I mean, of course, viewers' discretion.
Viewer discretion, yeah. But all I can say is if you want to understand what we're talking about when it comes to the warts, just Google on your phone right now.
Exactly, yeah, you'd see that.
HPV warts.
Yeah.
The genital warts.
Yeah.
You will be very careful after looking at them. You will be very careful, especially when it comes to sex.
Yeah.
Very, very, very important. Doc, I have goosebumps. And I have goosebumps because I'm about to ask you a question, which, well, you can share with us or you cannot share with us. But how many people come into your hospital having warts?
I think it depends, really. If we want to take a sneak peek on that, really want to look at, the vicinity in total. Like I always say that the reason why I love to teach, and probably I'm here right now because I want to advise the public, is that for every one person that walks into my consulting room represents the tip of an iceberg.
Wow.
Now, what that means is that if you know an iceberg, the tip looks, very cute.
Small. Yeah.
But beneath it is
so
a
big.
lot.
Yeah.
So it means that that one person represents 50 people from her community.
Hey.
2 people represent 100 people from her community. So why count the number of people that walk in, have gathered the confidence, heard the teaching, and have walked in, while there are thousands in the community who perhaps haven't even heard about it, have heard about it, but don't know what it is, have seen these warts, have seen these lesions, are bleeding after menopause, but don't know what it is. I mentioned the last time that the eye sees what the mind knows. So if you're bleeding after menopause and you don't know what it is, your mind doesn't know what it is, you think that, it's one of those things, right? So the eye sees what the mind knows. So we are trying to enlighten the public so their mind is aware of these things so that they don't get it. Exactly. So that's why I wouldn't really want to count how many people come into my consulting room, because it's just a tip of an iceberg, right? So there are so many people out there who don't know about these things, and you think that is a joke until we go into the rural communities and you notice that.
Well, you talk about menopause.
True,
so is it true that cervical cancer only affects menopausal women or older women?
So no, that's also a myth, right? So it could affect anybody who is sexually active, right? Now, so the reason why perhaps most people would think that it's cancer, so it should be for the older people, is because perhaps those people have elapsed the so-called 10 years, and even more, and nothing has been done, and these HPV are persistent. Some of them may or may not have HIV infections, and then they now start manifesting the full-blown cancer, perhaps has spread, to the bones, spread to the lungs, spread to the brain, and that's what you see. But then anyone
spread to the what?
To the brain.
From the cervix
Yes.
To the brain.
It's possible. Yes. Distant. That's why it's called distant spread. Spread to any organ in your body, your liver, any organ in your body at all.
From the cervix to the
Exactly.
brain.
Exactly.
Doc.
So that's how bad it is, right? You see.
This show just keeps enlightening me every day. And every day,
Exactly.
I'm just like, I just want to be alone right now.
So, yeah.
So, Doc, the last one here is faith.
Mm.
That's Jesus. That's Allah. That's Muhammad. That's whatever we worship right
Yeah.
now. Herbs, home remedies, like putting garlic inside there, drinking a lot of cloves in the morning, drinking
Yeah.
certain teas can actually cure cervical cancer. Is it
Alright.
true?
So now that is a myth, right? Now the body is a temple of the living God.
Amen.
And because
Amen.
it is God's temple, you want to treat it well, right? So faith and psychological, management help complement, the treatment, the medical treatment. We're not supposed to do it in isolation. I don't know if I've ever mentioned here a module, that we call the bio-psycho-social spiritual module of health. What that means is that people, WHO define health as, the state of complete physical, emotional, mental, social well-being, and not just the absence of disease. That's how WHO defines health. Now, what that means is that a healthy person is not someone who you've only treated medically. So what means is that if you're treating the person medically and the person's psychology is not right, he probably would not accept the treatment you're giving, probably not be compliant on the medication you're given. Do you understand? One of my lecturers once shared that he had someone, during family medicine, and this person was in pain, so much pain, and they've given all pain medication that they probably would have given. I think it's an elderly man who was, had a terminal disease. Now, he noticed, and he had to sit by this man to ask a few questions, and he had a lot of things bothering him, such that he needed to share with his immediate family.
Right.
So he made arrangements, called the immediate family, and he shared everything he needed to share, and he was fine. He said he needed a priest to pray for him. The priest came along and then prayed for him, and he was fine. The next day, the man's pain score that was rated 10/10 previously on so many pain medications was down to 1/10.
Wow.
So that tells you
That
how
the-
grave
yeah.
these things can complement management. Perhaps he was doing medical management, but it wasn't working.
Yeah, but his
the
psyche
pain
was not right.
coming
Yeah.
from, it was an emotional pain,
Right.
more than a physical pain. So faith and other things complement,
Right.
treatment, and
Right.
not to do it in isolation.
All right. Thank you, Doctor. It was really nice
Thank
having
you.
you on the show. I really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone who sent in their messages. This has been a great conversation. So if you're a woman out there, and if you're a man too, I think everyone should get screened for HPV and go for the vaccine. Like Doc said, the earlier that anything is seen, the faster for it to, be taken care of. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Doctor in the House. My name is Chris Carter, and see you next week.